Good evening, Steve.
You're live.
Thank you. Good evening. It's 6:01 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, and this is the work session of the Board of Education. First on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Could everybody please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Next on our agenda are presentations. We have a presentation from our technology department. Do you need us to come down? Okay, wonderful. We will go down to watch the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, and I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity this evening to come meet with you and share with you some of the wonderful work that we've been doing in the technology department since my arrival in July. We've been very busy. There are a lot of things going on, and I'm happy to be here tonight to share and highlight some of those great things and some of the great work. I just wanted to start out with just framing our lens of how we work and how we focus our work through the district and focusing on our students. The technology department will take a student-centered approach towards supporting the administrative and instructional arms of the district. It's our mission to collaborate with the key stakeholders to fulfill and execute the primary objectives, achieve the district's goals, and implement the district's core beliefs while equitably supporting all students. And these are the driving principles that we live by every day when we're coming into doing our work. We've talked a lot about, in a lot of the work we've done, about finding your why. And this is the center of our why for what we do every day. The other piece that helps guide our work are some foundational principles and what I like to call the technology and innovation ecosystem of support for achievement and success within the district. So within the technology department, we're always focused around these pillars: building capacity, recruiting competent and skilled professionals. You'll see as I get further into my presentation how we've been working to evolve the technology department in the time that I've been here since July, leveraging the collective knowledge and skill base of all of the team members to make sure that we're supporting the district needs and goals, and embracing a growth mindset. And taking the responsibility as educators and professionals to be learners and learner modelers. Communication is very important, building partnerships, knowing our key stakeholders, making sure that we're accessible to them, that they know how to reach us if they need us. Building those homeschool connections, all important pieces of what we do in the technology department. Providing and building a safe and secure infrastructure that supports the educational programming and allows our students to engage in 21st century learning skills in the classroom and beyond. Building systems, processes, and policy that'll support positive and effective work systems among the district, and making sure that what we're doing is in the best interest and safety of kids. And lastly, having a fiscal planning mindset that's responsible and student-centered for developing responsible budgets and supporting 21st learning skills through the use of technology. So as part of my process since I've been here, one of the first things I did was to share with you a 180-day plan. So part of what I'd like to do is share with you where I am in that 180-day plan, share some of the priorities that have risen to the surface in that work since I've been here, and some of the focus areas where we've been putting our energy. Starting with an excellence into Greenberg School District, the foundation of learning and growth. So coming in and really starting to meet with people, learning the buildings, learning the administration, the Board of Education, the teachers, the community, taking the time to understand what their needs are, learning the spaces, learning the needs. Took up a good portion of the first 30 days of the work, but while that was going on, focusing on the continuity of operations and the capital improvements that needed to keep moving, despite the fact that we were changing hands between technology directors, right? We needed to maintain continuity. So all of the summer projects that normally go on, rolling all the systems over, getting ready for the opening of school for the new year, getting all of our systems and devices and hardware programs all in place for the opening of school and ready for our students to come back in the beginning of September. All the mandated reporting requirements that happen over the summer, the data services area of the department is very busy making sure that we're fulfilling our state reporting requirements. Some of the big work that we did in the capital projects area is managed fiber and server retirement and migration. So you'll see in some of the coming slides some of the work we've done to start upgrading and advancing improvements in our infrastructure and moving our systems to a more secure environment. Beginning to perform IT security audits, software, hardware, network, edge testing, things like that, to make sure that we're building ourselves a foundation that protects our students and our staff. Again, hardware and software audits. Where are we with our cycles of replacement? Where are we with all of our hardware and software? Making sure we're up to date, making sure we have a vision and a focus for making sure that we stay up to date with our software and hardware. Looking at updating and upgrading our website and digital presence. So part of our communication piece, of course, is going to be how we present ourselves and how we share information to our public and to our constituents. And we recognize the need for us to really do some work in upgrading and updating our website presence. So that's part of the work that's been going on over the last couple months. Some of the planning, you'll see some of that more work come out tonight in some of the later slides. Another piece that has come up and come to the attention of the technology department is our research and review, and the part will play in implementing an emergency management platform for managing incident response and consolidating communications in the event of an incident or district. Lastly, the priorities and focus center around stabilizing the technology department. So you'll recall when I arrived here, more than 50% of the department had left to attrition or other reasons, and it was one of the main focuses to rebuild the technology department. So I'll be proud to be sharing with you how we've been working on doing that in some of the later slides. Some of the highlights around that would be moving in the technicians from our consultant BOCES contract to actually having our own hired in-house technicians, which we've done already, creating and filling an educational technology specialist, which we're hoping to do very soon, and aligning all of the staff within the department with the appropriate duties and responsibilities for their skill sets in order to best leverage them to support the district in the maximum effort possible. And lastly, building capacity of all facets of the district is part of all of the key stakeholders group in our work together in communicating and cooperating with all the other groups of the district. So just to speak to staffing, before my arrival, the portion on the left here is what the technology department looked like. So you had a director of technology. You had an assistant to the director, an administrative assistant, which is servicing the data services area of the department, a couple of technicians, which were employed by BOCES, and an educational television supervisor. Very quickly, I recognize that this the way the department was left, the district was severely undersupported. And during this transition period, it did not have the support and the capacity to really support the district at the level it needs to be supported. The staff is not aligned appropriately for the titles and duties that they're capable of doing. And the existing staff primarily have technical expertise, which really limited the department in being able to support the instructional arm of the district. So what you'll see now is our evolution in the technology department since July to now. So we've evolved the director's position to be director of technology and innovation, embedding and incorporating the principles of instruction into that role. It's not just a technical component to this role. It's not just plugging in wires, but there's an instructional and curricular aspect to this role as well now. The assistant to the director of technology is still there. We're looking to add an educational technology specialist that'll serve primarily as a district webmaster. That'll help close the gap in our web presence and bringing that up to speed for us, for the district. Supporting our one-to-one device program, managing the day-to-day of that program, and helping us to implement the policies and procedures that we're looking to put in place around that, as well as providing instructional PD around educational technology tools. They'll be working in the classrooms, they'll be working with teachers, they'll be in the buildings, and they'll be hands-on. We're looking to expand into our STEAM and coding activities, and this person will be pivotal in helping to roll those things out as we build further into the digital fluency and computer science standards. How they manifest into the classrooms will be a part of this role also. We have the administrative assistant still, which is servicing the department through the database services area of the department. Technical support specialists, like I had mentioned earlier, we've already moved 2 of the 3 into being Greenburgh Central School District employees. We have 1 left to move into that model as we're still transitioning from that BOCE support model. We have the educational television supervisor still. And then the addition is we've eliminated the network engineer position, and we're using the managed information technology model with BOCES and level 3 technical support. And again, at the end of the day, what this does for us, it really better positions us to really support both the administrative and the instructional aspects of the district. This is just a visual representation of the hierarchy of the department and how it spans across both domains of those components, both the technical and the innovative services of the technology team, and where the different roles fit within those areas. The next domain of work was in communication. So we've been working very hard in collaboration with the communication committee and developing a workflow and a structure for how we communicate as a district, both internally and externally, and mapping out the processes so we can be most efficient and identify areas where we can improve in our processes. So we started literally mapping out the data flow of how we communicate. You'll see at the top of that chart that we've identified a specific workflow for website work. It's consolidated under a single webmaster through the technology department. From there, you have your day-to-day communications, whether they be non-emergency communications or communications, and how they have trickled down into social media, either through email, phone, or text, or through written types of communications, and how those are handled already with our existing consultant communications specialists that we have on contract right now. And then the further arm of that is how we get into emergency communication workflows and the proposal of an emergency management system to help us manage those communications and make sure we're consolidating our efforts in an efficient, clear, and concise manner when we're involved in an incident. As a follow-up to the emergency response management, we're going to be presenting to you. We've been doing research on a number of different vendors who could provide this service for us, and we'll be providing more information for you when we come to the monthly Safety and Technology Committee meeting next week, and have much more time for discussion around this. But what we did is we've been doing research and took in the information from multiple vendors, specifically looking at safety plan management, emergency communication, reunification after an incident, reporting throughout the incident, community connection. That's not just with our outstanding community, but that's with emergency response services and incoming first responders, and the integration of those communications and how those work. Integrations not only with our data systems, but with our existing other security systems, so our front desk user management or visitor management, our door access management systems, our camera systems was another area we looked with compatibility and integration. So it's once we do this work, the direction we pick, the goal is that we have one encompassing envelope of safety, security, management embedded in one system and process. And lastly, we looked at the training and support to the district in this process, in our decision making. Next domain is the infrastructure. I had mentioned that we've been working hard to enhance and perform upgrades. So when I first arrived to the district, The slide on the left is really what we were looking at. It was almost what you would call, and I don't want to get too technical, but a hub and spoke type model. It's very linear, very hierarchical, and very dependent on and location specific, which means basically the way this was built, there isn't redundancy. Anything in a specific location was dependent on the equipment at that location, and if something failed, we had lots of single places of failure. Since then, we have been implementing and building in redundancy and upgrading our infrastructure, and that's what you see reflected on the right-hand side. We've built redundancy between our buildings, not only internally in the district, but externally out to our BOCES for internet and through our firewall and security protocols. So we've added redundancy. We've made it a more efficient, a non-linear, non-hierarchical system that's independent and can work in collaboration. So if one device goes down in a building, it'll get picked up by another area and maintain continuity of traffic and flow and service within the network. We will continue to be developing this work and moving this as we go on. This is just the first stage of this work. Lastly, systems, process, and policy. So you're going to hear me talk about that a lot. It's very important in the work we do that we're consistent with systems and with process. That's how we maintain safety and continuity around all of the work that we do. So implementing systems around working smarter and not harder philosophies, specifically around updating staff and student responsible use policies so they're clearly aligned with new 21st century learning styles, tools, and the newer technology and threats that come available to us, that we can address them, and we're educating our users around what those threats are and how to avoid them. Further implementing our one-to-one device program management, maintenance, implementing and hoping to have some discussions with you around insurance policies and replacement policies for our one device program. Some of the ways we can look at this insurance is either a district-owned insurance plan where the district purchases the insurance plan on behalf of all of the devices and all of the parents, or honestly, the preferred method, and this is really based on research that I've done with my colleagues around the region and other districts around our area, is that we contract with an insurance provider that will end up being the broker, but we'll set them up in a way where the parents can voluntarily, if they choose, sign up and get their own insurance on an annual basis per child or per device. It's a very cost-effective model. Again, you wouldn't mandate that. Parents would have the option to opt into that if they wanted to. But that would also work in conjunction with the addition of having some kind of insurance coverage with bolstering our replacement policy and repair policies around damaged devices. Furthermore, improved access to technical support to home and school, adding the help desk help tickets via the parent student support form, which can be found on our parent page of the website. We wanted to make it accessible for parents if they needed help outside of the school to have a mechanism to reach out to us so we can further support them, whether it be during the day or after the day. We provided a mechanism for them to reach out to us and let us know that they need help so we can help them. And lastly, leveraging technology to automate administrative overhead and manual functions. So a specific example of that is we're working to now integrate all of our database systems and build a flow such that it's more of a data-driven process for onboarding and offboarding staff and students. So once you register a child, they'll replicate through all the systems. Once you hire new staff and enter them into the HR system, it'll replicate through all the other systems. It's more secure, it's safer, it's more efficient. You eliminate vulnerabilities, and it's just smart and smart way of doing business and best practice in this area. And again, these all fall into the ecosystem of the work that we do every day. And at this point, I'd just like to thank you for your time listening, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes, Mr. Warner.
When you said capacity building, I immediately started thinking about bandwidth getting larger and all that sort of thing. So I know that that's not what it means. It's more like professional development and making sure that you have the personnel in place to do what needs to be done. But could you tell me, I usually think of technology as a moving target, that everything is evolving, that there's a cyclical nature to devices getting old and needing to be replaced and all of that. What kinds of cycles do you see, and what will you be doing to introduce new technology to keep up with what's happening now and what will be happening 6 months from now?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Mr. Warner. That's a very good question. So the first part of that is really getting a handle on our full assets and our full inventory. So part of this work, and I failed to mention it, but has been since I've gotten here to implement a fully functional asset management system that we're using to now migrate everything over from our previous processes for keeping track of devices and put them into this system. Not only will it consolidate where all the devices are, it will help us for budgeting and replacement scheduling purposes. So it'll allow us to build a multi-year cyclical replacement cycle. So that's the first step, right, is implementing a rotating flexible cycle that will rotate through the grades. And we can talk about how that might look developmentally and instructionally and how that might rotate. But there are different models for that, and certainly this will allow us to deal with that. The other piece of that, and you mentioned and I thought it was very important, is not just the capacity building and human resources physically, but in the professional development aspect of this. And just as other employees and the rest of employees participate in superintendent's conference days, yes, while we're in the background making sure that everything's working in those sessions, we also engage in regular professional development. I personally engage the team on a monthly basis in formalized professional development activities, not only to keep us honed and skilled on our daily processes and routines, but being able to take in opportunities to stay current with technology, to look at what's new out there, what's upcoming, how does that fit into our work, collaborating with the curriculum office on how we can fit this into instructional settings. So all of those things are happening on a regular basis and formalized in processes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Once again,
sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Mrs. Washington had a question.
so thank you for the presentation. Definitely enjoyed. You started with something that's near and dear to my heart in terms of making our approach student-centered. And now I know you're still building the team, but I'm really curious, when you're bringing in new people, how are we making sure that they don't just understand technology today, but that they're really paying attention to the things that are on their way, and that they are going to utilize that knowledge and or skills to help the district kind of understand, because a lot of these things are things that parents, teachers, most people are just not thinking about, and it's coming fast, and I'm hoping that our students are not left behind. So curious to find out how you're thinking about the folks that are going to be brought in.
Yes, thank you for that question. So firstly, as we've been backfilling and hiring these positions and restructuring the department, the first part of that was really designing a vetting process that would really tease out the folks who have the specific skills that we're looking for, but beyond those skills, also have the personality traits and ability to be able to meet the needs of our students, of a diverse population, of being able to communicate in a way that we can connect with the instructional staff, that we're not just technical folks. Another piece of that is the work we do internally as a department. One of the first things we did as a department once I arrived was engage in a workshop around guiding principles and how the center of those guiding principles were around providing customer service, and that we're a support arm to the district, and that is our primary function, to make sure that we're supporting everything that goes on. And we're the folks that stand maybe behind the curtain, but it's a very important role in making sure that the things that go on in front of the curtain can happen. So making sure that the expectations around being the service providers of the district are instilled within the team, working collaboratively to build the team and grow them together, so that we can support each other. It's a network of support. One of the things that I say is, it's one of my mantras, and you'll hear me say it all the time. We don't have problems, we only have solutions.
And that's our mindset in the technology department, is that as things come to us, we work collectively and collaboratively to solve those problems and in support of that. And honestly, it's a mindset. If you don't have that mindset, then you don't belong on this team. So that's how we instill that work and how we can support our students.
Good evening. So I have two questions. One, what is your timeline to ensure that every student and every classroom has access to Wi-Fi to the point where if you want to open up your Chromebook, you actually have access to do the task before you? We know that we could try to use our cell phone right now and it might not work. So I'm just looking for a deadline of when we know our students, because we're trying to meet the needs of our students, when will they have full access to be able to use the technology in their classrooms, and teachers are able to use every device to enhance instruction? We need to have our students being able to use the technology in front of them. So can you just give me a deadline when that will happen?
So let me answer you like this. So you make a very good point, and that should be our focus. And there's a lot of components to this in answering that question. Part of that you saw tonight in the upgrades and rebuilding of the network infrastructure. There's a lot of different parts of that. So a lot of that is also dependent on time to get in the building to do the work, on budget and budget cycles and things to support that work as well. So it's always at the priority of us to support our students in the use of technology in the classroom. And to the greatest extent of our capacity today and every day from now on, we will continue to build on that. I don't think there is a due date. I think we're always looking to have to improve and continue to build on what we have today and make it better tomorrow and the next day and the next. And that's our goal. I don't think we're ever done. So to answer your question, no, I don't really think there's a due date. We're always working to make it better.
So I'm just going to the basic due date. So my question is really the reality of it. Our students right now cannot use the technology in front of them. Teachers can't do what they need to do, the tasks that they want to give the students because of our infrastructure. So I just need the basic. We can improve ourselves as we go on. That's fine. But I need basic. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I'm
I
asking
hear
you.
you.
So if you can go back with your team and come back to us and give us a deadline where we could say in 2023, our students will be able to have a Chromebook and actually use it in the classroom, I will greatly appreciate that. And number two, you were talking about a technology instructional specialist. So one of the things I really believe we need to continue to focus on, whoever we're hiring needs to really understand culturally responsive, sustaining education. Because as you said, we are a diverse community. So whoever we bring into this place needs to understand the demographics and needs to understand how to provide mirrors and windows for the students in this district. So I'm really, hoping that who you are presenting or who the superintendent is presenting really understands that framework. So please make sure in the technology department that our kids can see themselves, and like Trustee Jamal was saying, how are our kids being linked to technology? How are you using them to be the future? How do they know that they can do anything? So through the technology department, those are some of the things that I would like to see, just like Trustee Jamal brought up, about our students being part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that feedback. I'm making notes now, so I'll take that back to my department so we can start building capacity into those areas. Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, then I thank you very much for your time this evening.
Okay, thank you all for your patience while we transition. The time is now 6:32 p.m. and we're going to move on in our agenda. Next we have reports and public comments. We have committee reports. I did anticipate there were some committee reports that were going to be coming our way, and you'll find those on the agenda. First, we have the CEC report. That's the Community Engagement and Communications Committee. And that's Mr. Thomas. You did send us a write-up. I did. I'm sorry about that, Trustee Valen. Oh, I'm sorry. First, we have Audit Committee. But you're ready? Who would like to go first?
I've got it.
Okay.
Sorry. The Audit Committee met on October 28th and started with an executive session to discuss a matter regarding personnel involved with the independent audit. We exited executive session, adopted the minutes from the June 14th meeting with an amendment for the start time. We then formally introduced each other. In attendance were Lisa Raymond, Amy Ashley Moore, Chris Valen, David Warner, Tracy Mears, Dr. Iverson, Dr. Macaluso, and Gabriela Barahona. After adopting the minutes, we then introduced the names and profiles of the proposed public members of the Audit Committee for the current school year. There is a resolution on tonight's agenda for the board to accept the names of Michael K. Owens and Gabriela Barahona. Brief profile of each is as follows. Michael Owens has over 20 years of experience with preparing and reviewing audited financial statements, in addition to performing controls and procedures assessments. He would be returning for an additional term on the Audit Committee. Gabriela Barahona was with an audit firm for the first 8 years of her career with a focus in the financial services industry, and she eventually transitioned into fund accounting for private equity funds. This will be her first term serving on the Audit Committee. The next item on the agenda was noting that we had previously reviewed the intensive review of human resources and payroll for the 21-22 audit year. The auditors noted strong overall controls over this area. We then shifted focus to reviewing the latest draft of the Internal Audit Corrective Action Plan for the year ending June 30th, 2022. Changes were suggested, and a new draft version of the Corrective Action Plan will be shared with the committee for review at our next Audit Committee meeting, at which time a vote may be taken to recommend approval to the full board at the December 6th meeting. We then discussed internal auditor suggestions regarding the intensive review for the 22-23 school year. Committee members indicated they had a preference for doing a deep dive into purchasing and payables, but will make a final decision or recommendation to the board after speaking with the auditor. We then heard an update on the New York State audit, which is ongoing. Primary areas of interest seem to be the amount held in reserve for tax certiorari claims and the accountability of vendors on our buildings and grounds. We then discussed the timetable for the independent audit for the year ending June 30th, 2022, and for the 22-23 internal audit. Ms. Raymond has asked the independent auditor to finish the report by November 4th, this coming Friday, so that the audit committee can schedule a meeting for the following week and have time to review the materials beforehand. It is anticipated that the independent auditor will present to the full board at the November 15th meeting, at which time a resolution will be presented. Just to take note that the independent audit needs to be uploaded to NICED no longer than November 16th to avoid potential impacts on funding. As such, there is currently no audit committee meeting scheduled, but as soon as we know, it will be posted onto the district website. It is anticipated to be sometime next week. Regarding the internal audit, Ms. Raymond expects that audit to begin this month in November, with initial reporting to the audit committee by early spring. We then reviewed contract renewal dates and the requirement to issue RFPs periodically for these services. It is anticipated that we will be issuing RFPs for both independent auditor and internal auditor services, with the independent audit RFP to be issued sometime in November or early December after being reviewed by the board. We then reviewed the audit committee charter and recommended no changes for the current school year. And that will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Valen. Does anyone have any questions regarding the audit committee report? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Trustee Valen. We'll go on to the next item, which is listed as the Community Engagement and Communications Committee. That's the CEC.
Yes, so now we're calling it CECNC, so we can keep the communications part in there as well. So,
CEC and C?
yeah, because it's communication, why do we, yeah, community engagement and communications. Yeah, whichever one sounds better. We met on October 12th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Our meeting was at Highview Elementary School as well as Zoom. YouTube video replay is available. We started with introductions. Attendees were David Warner, Johan Snaggs, Giovanna Mateus, Samantha Ives, Edith Horn, Naima Cook, Sylvia Simon, Dr. Iverson, and myself. We then adopted our 9/12/22 meeting minutes. We had a discussion about designating committee members. We had a number of people who expressed interests, Kelly Johnson-Ross and Giovanna Mateus, who were already on. And Sylvia Simon has expressed interest in joining. I ask at this moment if anybody else has any interest in being a committee member of the CEC meeting. CEC, please do send me an email at jthomas@greenbergcsd.org, because by the next meeting we will likely be voting on who will be those official committee members. I did get some emails today from folks that are currently members that express interest in joining again. We had a discussion around schools as a community infrastructure. This was a white paper that I found that I thought would be interesting to go over how it connected to our strategic plan and our areas of student success, infrastructure, communications, climate and culture, and premium workforce. As part of that conversation, we talked a little bit about what it takes to have schools be the center of our community, how to gather assistance from the outside community to help us reach our physical infrastructure goals. What does it look like for us to become a type of beacon for districts using creative ways to upgrade their infrastructure? What does it look like to have young people learn and better utilize technology, as well as potentially helping some of the elders in our community to better understand technology as well, so that to connect the young and old and have an intergenerational learning process. We talked about some of the places where we are already where the school is already kind of a center of the community in terms of the fitness center, community gardens, playground, and then we have areas like our community center, the library, and the nature center, which, nature center, I'm not sure whether they do or not, but where these other ones do have interaction with the overall school district. We then had a discussion, and if anybody would like to view that school as community infrastructure white paper, they can also send me an email. We had a discussion around the Fairview Empowerment Group by Mr. Johan Snaggs. He talked about the 4 pillars being food justice, energy sustainability, financial wellness, and education. He spoke to the summer festivals that they put on, and that and working together potentially with the district on a pop-up market and holiday event to take place in December. I believe that there are some discussions being had to see if that's something that can be pulled together. We then had superintendent updates from Dr. Iverson. She gave us some updates that we're on our final phase of the strategic plan, and we're coming up with our timeline for benchmarks and metrics that will measure our progress and success. We went through some more information on communication, and we'll be having IB and WISE program coming to communicate with the committee in future meetings. And there was a small discussion around meetings coming up with Aramark around improving our food service. In terms of upcoming events, our next meeting will be held via Zoom on the 7th, next Monday. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Trustee Thomas. Are there any questions or comments regarding the CEC committee report? No? You guys are quiet. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Trustee Thomas. The next report on our agenda is the Finance and Facilities Committee, and we have an update on the Metropolis Country Club. And that's Trustee Warner.
Okay, first the Finance and Facilities Committee. The Finance and Facilities Committee met at the Woodlands Innovation Lab at 6:30 on 10/20/22. Attendees included David Warner, Dennis Pugliese, Chris Vallon, Dr. Carol Allen, James Wadig, Steve Morton, Fred Seba, Ashley Pineda, Jessica Muldoon, Zachary Baker, Katie McGee, Tracy Mares, Judy Along, Elizabeth Sindona, Sarah Lazari, Gabriela Barahona, Giovanni Mateus, Dave Breachlall, Megan Hack, Amy Huang, John Kane, and Kalyana Valdala, both of Con Ed Solutions, and Dr. Linda Iverson. We, 1, adopted minutes from the 9/14 Finance and Facilities meeting. Recommendations from that meeting were accepted by the board on 9/20. So currently, Lisa Raymond is developing an energy performance contract Q&A for the district website. Regeneron was contacted and reports they have no surplus equipment at this time, but they'll keep us in mind. The Town Department of Community Development has been contacted regarding adding more barriers or shrubbery or whatever we need between R.J. Bailey and the car wash, and we await a response. 2, heard a presentation on the energy performance contract. We're making a recommendation to the board on this topic, so we'll come back to it in a few minutes. 3, briefly reviewed finance topics. The American Rescue Plan allocates $1.6 million for ventilation and $400,000 for learning loss. That hasn't changed. The 2021 excess fund balance has $88,774 in it, and the Repair Reserve Fund has $4.3 million in it. And we need to follow a public process to transfer money from the Repair Reserve Fund to other funds so that we can upgrade things as well as repair them. So, there are things we can do with that money. Audit Committee update, I think we just heard, so I'll skip that. Reviewed the 5-year plan facilities topics. So there are 2 different documents. One is a 5-year plan that we're required to have just for facilities, and the other is what's our input regarding the district-wide 5-year plan. I reviewed the BBS executive summary plan for facilities based on the 2020 building conditions survey. It removes the phase 1 topics and anything that was completed this side of 2022 September, and so we don't have $89 million worth of stuff anymore. We have more like $82 million, and if this energy performance contract comes through, it'll lessen even further. Proposed change to district-wide strategic plan infrastructure goal. So currently the goal reads, we commit to update, repair, replace district facilities and technology to meet the requirements of the future classroom, and we want to change it to say, we commit to update, repair, replace district facilities and technology to ensure student safety and health and to meet the requirements of the future classroom. So we're doing things to maintain what we have as well as move on to the future. And that's how we divide our resources, so we think it should be in the goal. Reviewed a set of suggestions for facility metrics, such as ensuring all facilities are in satisfactory condition, percentage of building condition survey items and building condition survey priority 1 and 2 items are completed, classroom of the future metrics, such as increased square footage per student, project-based goals like completing renovations of chemistry labs or cafeterias, or increased student classroom capacity. 5, reviewed R.J. Bailey Auditorium project status. Thanks to New York State Assembly and the Assemblyman Abernathy for providing $500,000 in funding for this project. We had a scoping meeting with the architect and the principal and discussed the style of seating, the material, the carpeting in the aisle, the four-color, the balcony seating. The budget is not enough for sound or lighting at this time. We need to move some other money over and do it as a separate project. So we'll focus on the basic roof, seating, etc., and get that into NYSED as soon as we can. BBS submission to SED should be the end of November or early December at the latest. 6, reviewed status of other facilities projects. Dennis Pugliese, Director of Facilities, walked us through this. The Warburg Campus water lines and fire hydrants, $814,000 project. Submission to NYSED is delayed by lack of a topography report from a vendor. We're following up on this, checking the purchase order, trying to figure out why it's not moving forward. Architects can't do anything till they get that report. Phase 1, ventilation and Highview roof project. Highview 3rd grade wing roof replacement is now in process and should be completed in about 2 weeks.
Heavy rains and wind on 10/13 caused leaks in hallways and in several classrooms. Waterproofing has since been restored, and damaged ceiling tiles have been replaced at no additional cost to the district. So we're back on track. Woodlands Middle High School security vestibule and mansion roof, $2 million project. Awaiting materials for vestibule. Mansion masonry work has begun. If you've seen all the stands that people are climbing up on and working just under the eaves over there at the mansion. The project completion is expected in January. The ECP main building, we installed new edging materials and mulch on playgrounds and a new doorbell, fencing upgrades in process. Lee F. Jackson repaired the kitchen refrigerator, installed outdoor rodent bait station so we take care of the varmints before they get in. Highview, access path to nurse's office, repaving completed. Proposed third grade wing openable window project needs to be rescoped by BBS. The 57K materials didn't make it. R.J. Bailey, parking lot and exit sign lights have been replaced and leaky boiler room vacuum pumps are being rebuilt. On 9/15, EnviroScience reported detectable levels of Legionella in the hot water supply. We turned off the drinking fountains and bottle refill stations and provided students water cooler during the remediation, which was a chlorine flush. EnviroScience post-treatment test is negative for Legionella, and all water has been turned back on. Chlorine flush to be performed every 2 months to prevent a recurrence. We will also test every 2 months, and post-Legionella test reports should be posted to the district website. Woodlands, outdoor rodent bait station installed, just like the other school. Hornet's nest near large gym removed. Parking lot steps repaired. The heating control leak in room 313 is taken care of, and a new stove has been installed. The elevator near the weight room has rollers and doors replaced. The volleyball sleeve installation is now scheduled for 11/11/22. Currently working on replacement of walk-in refrigerator box. We'll address potholes and road leaving the parking lot at the Woodlands Middle High School and a small part of the curve in the driveway. And we'll repave the top parking lot next summer. The bus garage, we need to consider repaving and electric vehicle charging station for our long-term plan. We should also seek grant funding for an electric bus pilot program in partnership with our bus company. 7, briefly reviewed Phase 2. Priorities include ventilation, building envelopes, BCS priority 1 and 2 items, and ECP classrooms. That would require a bond proposition, and we'll get on to that once we've figured out exactly nailed down the scope of our energy performance contract. That concluded the meeting. Now, regarding the energy performance contract, we heard a proposal from Kalyana Videla and John Kane of Con Edison Solutions. An energy performance contract allows school districts to implement energy conservation and capital improvement measures that would otherwise require a capital project. You've been provided with a PowerPoint link and a link to the presentation on the Greenberg CSD channel on YouTube. Major points include, since this is a $20 million item, I'm going to go over the major points. Project includes LED lighting, rooftop solar panels at Highview, just the new part of the roof, direct digital controls for all HVAC systems, natural gas for multiple schools, replacement of outside air intakes and all 4 rooftop units at Woodlands, rebuild of air handling units at Highview and R.J. Bailey, new boilers at Highview, new condensing water heaters at all schools, software controls for district computers, timer controls for window ACs, installation of bare piping, replacement of steam traps at R.J. Bailey, installation of solar PV carport and battery energy storage system at the high school football field, improved building envelope and weatherization, and refrigeration compressors for Highview freezers. So all of that is included. The project cost is $20,391,117. That's minus $3.5 million of NYSERDA rebates, leaving $16,801,587 to be financed. Energy savings are slightly above $1 million a year. Maximum average payback period is 18 years. NYSED must approve the contract, so they make sure that it makes sense. Energy savings offset the cost of capital improvements. Savings are guaranteed by Con Edison Solutions, and they will reimburse us for any savings not realized. So if their estimate is off, they have to pay us if our utility bills end up too high and we don't end up with a net zero change in our costs. There is no additional cost to district taxpayers. Project scope to do all of this requires 10% additional aid from New York State, which requires voter approval. If voters do not approve the project, scope will be reduced, affecting replacement and reconditioning of air handling units, rooftop units, and condensing hot water boiler at Highview. The proposed location for the battery energy storage system at the football field is significantly greater. It's 285 feet than the 100-foot setback required by town regulations for non-school district projects of this size. We've requested a cost estimate for a concrete firewall surrounding the BESS, similar to those for approved BESS projects in the town of Greenburgh. No trees will be cut to erect the BESS or solar panels. So it's just the dirt area out past the football field and not close enough to the trees so that the tree shadows will get in the way. Con Ed will install natural gas lines to schools that currently run on heating oil. For Highview, Con Ed will attempt to upgrade the existing gas line service on Harvard Drive to avoid running a line through Richard Presser Park. We had a concern about that. We might not have to go through the park. District owns the entire project, including the solar panels, but the project has an operations and maintenance budget, which pays for maintenance and damages during the term of the contract. Committee members expressed concern about rising interest rates nationally and the cost of the EPC loan. If there's not enough money, item number 6, Woodlands Middle High School rooftop units, will be removed from the project list. The loan terms are not finalized until we get project approval from NYSED in several months. Once the project is approved, BBS will work on design and send the results to NYSED for approval. This will take approximately 3 to 6 months, followed by the finance stage. Per Ivy Krause, the earliest possible public vote for EPC approval would be January of 2023, this January. So after all of that, the Finance and Facilities Committee recommends that the school board move forward with an energy performance contract proposal as presented by Con Edison Solutions with a public approval vote slated for January of 2023. Does the board approve? Now, I guess this is like a motion, and the question, are there any questions?
Trustees, there's a request for a motion on the board. What say you? Does anyone want to make a motion?
No, we have to second it, no?
I believe, okay,
It
so
needs to
let's
be
use my
moved.
reading as a motion, and then,
That was a recommendation. It needs to be moved.
okay. I move that the school board move forward with an energy performance contract proposal as presented by Con Ed Solutions with a public approval vote slated for January of 2023.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. So we are going to move forward with that plan, and I guess in the business office will let us know the earliest possible date for a public vote. Okay, thank you.
The meeting adjourned at 9:22 p.m. The next meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee is 11/17 at 6:30 p.m. at the Woodlands Innovation Lab. A Zoom link will be added on the online district calendar if you wish to attend remotely. Okay, so that's that. Now you wanted to talk about the Metropolis Country Club? Okay, go ahead.
I just had a question for our Assistant Superintendent of Business in reference to the Legionella. How do, because I'm hearing this throughout different years, Legionella, what is the actual issue and what do we need for it never to come back to our school district again?
So Mr. Pugliese had told me it is when water is just sitting in that one water tank. That's what's happening. So he has put into place that, just like Trustee Warner said, every month, every 2 months, he's going to flush the system out to try to control it from, I don't even know if it regrows or coming back or, festering up again. So that's what he's going to try for the remediation from here forward to see if it works.
Thank you.
Trustee Valen?
Sorry, and just to follow up on a request I'd made in the committee, could we have the letters from EnviroScience or whoever did the report posted to the website, the facilities website, as per past practices?
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Both the initial letter and the all clear letter?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. We will be actually putting, Dennis and I spoke about this, we're going to put like a folder on that page, so you'll see all of them from whatever years we have that are on there. We're just going to put them all in one spot so you can find them. Correct, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? No? Okay, Trustee Warner, do you want to continue on with the Metropolis report?
Okay, Metropolis Country Club and Juniper Hill Spur. On 10/12/22, the town of Greenburgh opened a public hearing regarding Metropolis Country Club's application for an amended site plan and tree removal permit related to construction of a maintenance facility in the eastern portion of the golf course. There's a reference to the town website, and there are some drawings which we can take a look at. Can people see the screen that we have in front of us?
Is there a way to get that onto the screen so that the public can view that as Trustee Warner gives the report? Yeah, it's going to be shown. Okay, wonderful. So Trustee Warner, I don't know if you could.
Okay, so if you look at the picture you have in front of you, you have there on the right-hand side coming down is Fair Street, and at the bottom of the screen would be the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And if you were coming down that and you made a left turn, you'd go up the hill on Juniper Hill Road, the paved part. If you were, instead of doing that, were to turn right, you'd be on the old gravel road that used to go to the Morton House. And the proposal, since they're doing some other things on other portions of the property to set up an assisted living facility, they now need their maintenance facility to be somewhere else. So you see the two big gray rectangles in the middle of that? Those are the maintenance buildings, and they're also storing fertilizer and pesticides, the sort of stuff that they spray on the golf course. You'll notice that it's not on the edge of the property. It's actually surrounded by golf holes. It's at a decent distance from any edges of the property, so we weren't really concerned upon seeing it that we have environmental concerns so much as what were we going to do about access to it. And the proposal is that they're going to pave the portion of Juniper Hill Road Spur out to a point just south of that facility, and then put in a paved driveway that cuts through the golf course up to where the two buildings are. And in addition to doing that, they're going to put a sidewalk along the northern side of Juniper Hill Road, and leading to a point about 20 feet past that driveway, and then they'll stop. The paving will stop. It'll go back to being a gravel road, and there'll be no more sidewalk from that point on. So then there were two things that we were questioning about that. One is Juniper Hill Road Spur really a public road such that the town should take care of it? And two, should the sidewalk be on the north side or should the sidewalk be on the south side? And I should tell you that so basically the town had a public hearing on one date. They had a field trip or a site visit on the date that we showed up, and that's about when we came onto the scene. And then the next night they had a conclusion to the public hearing, at which point they closed it and allowed the record to remain open for 7 days. Which means if we'd wanted to say anything, and we couldn't speak as a board because we haven't discussed it at a board up to this point, but if we want to submit a letter to anybody to state our opinion about anything, then we have until tomorrow at 5 o'clock to get our letter in. And this is our first opportunity to discuss this. So basically, I'm going to tell you there were various opinions about whether or not this was a public road, and some people said, well, there are fire hydrants all the way along back to the Morton House, and the water department's maintaining these fire hydrants, so why don't you think of this as a public road if you're maintaining it? And then there are people who are saying, no, What's mostly been happening is the maintenance has been done by the country club, not much of anybody else. And there's a process that the town has in which you want a paper road, a road that's kind of in name only and not really an official public road, gets made into a public road. And what happens is all the property owners along the borders of the road get together, bring the road up to code, and then make a formal application process and turn it over to the town. And they have no record of this process ever having been done for this road. So their claim is it's not a road. So right now for this project and to this distance along the road, it's going to be maintained by the country club. Okay. The second question was, is it better to put the sidewalk on the north side or the south side? And you had different people with different opinions. So you had a member of the local civic association thought that students would do less jaywalking if you put the sidewalk on our side. Of course, that would mean we would have to go maintain the sidewalk ourselves if it's not really a public street and do snow removal. So the question is it really better? The folks from the local church said, no, it's better to have the sidewalk on the north side. It interferes with parking, and a lot of the kids are cutting through the church anyway. So then we ended up walking over to the corner of the street and having a big debate about all the different places kids could cross and what they're most likely to do. And then Sergeant Rexon, the traffic officer for the town, said, the only way to make everything safer is to make this into a controlled intersection, because kids can go any which way depending on where they're coming from and where they're going and whether they're coming out of the church or up the street. So put stop signs in. Assuming the slope is not too steep and the visibility is not too terrible, if you put stop signs in at that spot, then it will make it safer for everyone because all the traffic will stop. Okay, so my personal opinion is I think that if the town thinks Juniper Hill Road is not a public road, there's a process for us to make it one. However, the process costs money, and we should only execute it if we build or install something that requires access at or near the site of the caretaker's house. We were going to do the battery energy storage system, but now we're going to do that down by the football field instead. So there's nothing right now that we need to do to use this road at this time. So I would just put that off and not make any comment at this point. Regarding where the sidewalk goes, I agree with Sergeant Rexon. If we submit any input to the town public hearing, it should be a brief letter requesting that the intersection of Fair Street and Juniper Hill Road be studied to determine whether stop signs should be installed there. So that's my 2 bits. I believe, Chris, you had some photographs. Did you want to go over those and tell us a little bit more, or add to anything I've said?
The photographs I shared with Trustee Warner are basically standing at one point and looking. This is the one where we're looking up towards the paved part, the public road part of Juniper Hill Road. Everything until basically the end of the trees is this disputed road, shall we say. You make the left turn, you're on Fair Street. And if I turned around, if you could go to the next picture, this is from the same spot, looking back towards the Morton House, which will be on the left. The golf course is on the right. Probably at this distance you can't see it. Here, behind the heads of these people is where these buildings will be put, and just to the left of that telephone pole is where the entryway will be. The sidewalk will go up through there, and I forget how many feet after that, 20 feet, I want to say, continuing on the north side. If you could go to the previous picture, please. So that where that site is for the buildings and the entryway is, looking at this picture, it's hard to see, but the cars that are parked further up on the right. So you see the distance from the intersection of Fair Street where they're going to be doing this paving and the sidewalk construction. The only thing I will add is that the sidewalk has to measure out 4 feet from whatever the nearest obstacle is. We believe it's a fire hydrant. The golf club, Metropolis, plans to build a straight sidewalk instead of it following the property line. So that will further narrow this unofficial, supposedly, allegedly unofficial road in some spots. So I was wondering, maybe there's an exception to the 4 feet rule. Maybe we could ask if it could be 3 feet wide. That's just food for thought. I'm not making an official proposal. I'm still
Not making an
although
official
we're at the
recommendation
deadline.
at this time. We're thinking about it. Okay.
The reason for that thought is the sidewalk that was constructed on the other end of Juniper Hill Road, rising from Aqueduct Road. If anyone has driven that road or walked up that road, you'll see that basically it doesn't seem to be 4 feet. 4 feet plows through telephone poles, et cetera. It's not really pedestrian friendly. That is not the model I would want to follow for this because pedestrians are the primary concern here. But it looks like if they'd made an exception there, that maybe there could be an exception made for width there. I'm thinking, what width would a baby stroller or grocery cart or whatever someone would be hugging along use on the road? I understand 4 feet is the standard, but maybe there's room to leave some more width in the road.
So if you draft a letter, you'd add an additional comment on maintaining the width of the sidewalk. Okay. So am I allowed to make a motion at this point?
You can, but do you want to hear from anyone else?
Sure.
Or does anyone else have any other comments? Okay, do you want to make your motion?
Okay. I move that we that the district writes a brief letter requesting that the intersection of Fair Street and Juniper Hill be studied to determine whether the stop sign should be installed there, and requesting that we make sure that the 4 foot width of the sidewalk is maintained.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? So I have discussion piece. So Trustee Warner, are you saying you want the 4 feet maintained? And I heard Trustee Valen saying possibly being flexible to the 3 feet. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay. So but you're requesting.
Whoa, wait. Okay. So tell me why.
Tell you why. I do not, listen, I'm not good at judging width. I'm looking at the width of this table.
Mm-hmm.
I will estimate it's about 3 feet. Maybe I'm wrong.
So what I did hear Trustee
Okay.
Valen
I'm
saying
looking
is that
for
it's going to
enough
make the
width-
road smaller.
Enough width to have a stroller or whatnot going down for pedestrian safety, but keep some width in the road because in some places, it's not a 2-lane passable road. That's my concern. I want to have a little more wiggle room.
Okay, so you want to maintain road width.
No, I want pedestrian safety, but if there's a way to make the sidewalk width slightly smaller and maintain that safety.
Okay, so word
I wanna have my
what
cake
you
and eat it
want
too.
to word what you want to be in the letter.
I agree with your first proposal regarding the stop signs. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to suggest that they consider whether a 3-foot width of the sidewalk maintains pedestrian safety.
And consider 3-foot width of sidewalk. All right, so that's an amendment to the motion, and I second that.
Trustee Warner, only you can amend your motion because you made the motion.
I move that we amend the motion.
Thank you. I do have another point of discussion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. I have another point of discussion, which is the use of the road. Since we did take the Morton House down completely, are you aware of our use of that road?
I know of very little use for the road other than for maintenance purposes at the moment.
Okay, I don't know. Ms. Raymond, do you know of any use that we have of that road? So, I mean, I don't know for the future what plans we may have to utilize that piece of our property.
Right, it was best, but it's not now.
Huh?
It was battery energy storage system, but it's not now.
Right. Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding that
one.
area? Trustee Washington?
Well, I have just 2 comments. One, the acoustics is horrible. So it's really, it's hard to hear. So I don't know who can help with that. But it's really hard to understand everyone. And then number 2, if the sidewalks are there, then it becomes the responsibility of Greenberg Central School District to clean the snow or to maintain the sidewalks.
If we move them to the other side of the road.
So
right now, the standard thing that happens is whoever wants to make the road longer, you put it along the edge of their property and they maintain it. So right now,
Right.
the way it is, if we don't ask for a change in any way, shape, or form, that sidewalk goes on the north side of the street and they have to plow it.
And from their calculations, because they do the measurement, 4 feet basically will allow cars to pass. That's what you
Well,
received.
they need to have their large trucks be able to get in. So they're actually widening the road just at the right turn that they make off of Fair Street, and then not paying a lot of close and careful attention to whether the road is quite as wide until they get to their driveway. And then if it's wide enough at their driveway, they will do nothing, but they will make it wider if they have to, so they can bring a big truck with a trailer into their driveway.
Right, okay. Thank you. So they've done the measurements. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. It sounds so much better.
So Trustee Warner, just for clarity, I just want to clarify. They're going to be. We had approved maybe almost 2 years ago now for the storage facility to be over there, and you're saying that they're going to widen the road just enough for their trucks to be able to get through, right?
They're going to widen it in the spots where they need to in order to make a turn.
And then their sidewalks are going to go how far down? Because
20 feet past their new driveway that they're making.
and then it's just going to be what it is now.
And then it'll stop.
Okay, all right, thank you. Trustee Pineda, sorry.
Yeah, so my question is, if I heard you correctly, their sidewalk right now, the proposed sidewalk is going to follow a straight line, not actually the property line, right? And that's why we're running into this predicament of
It's
3 feet, 4 feet, et cetera.
Yeah,
et cetera.
they're gonna follow their road so that they don't have to do a bunch of work to build up the land to make the sidewalk level.
Okay. If they did that, though, that would resolve the problem?
If they did that, it would cost them a little bit more money.
Then they
You'd
have
have
4
to
feet.
worry about where the telephone poles are located and where the fire hydrants are located.
Okay.
Are you done, Trustee Pineda?
I'm thinking. And then you said they're going to go 20 feet past the driveway.
Right.
Okay.
Because they might drive past and then back in.
Yeah. And then we have no proposed usage for our side still, so there's no point in us, from a fiscal perspective, taking that on. There's no cost benefit at this moment in time. Okay, I'm fine with your proposal.
Okay, call the question. Can we call the question? Yeah.
I have one more question. So your motion does not include which side of the,
We're not requesting a change.
you're not saying that?
We're
Okay.
not requesting a change.
All right, trustees, can you please poll the board? Thank you.
Jamal Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Fallon,
Yes.
David Warner,
Yes.
Julia Long,
Yes.
Kiana Washington,
Yes.
Ashley Pineda,
Yes.
and Tracy Maris.
Yes. Thank you, motion carries. All right, thank you, Trustee Warner. That was a lot of information you provided for us. Is there another motion, Trustee Valen?
No, I have a question then. Who's writing the letter that's due tomorrow?
The superintendent?
Logistics. Dr. Iverson, you're going to be, she's going to write the letter. Okay, thank you, Dr. Iverson.
It's that last paragraph, and then from the email, and then maintain road width 3 feet. Right.
Yes.
Is there any further input, Dr. Iverson, from the district or the facilities or business office you guys have?
I will use that information pretty much verbatim.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Trustee Warner again. Thank you, PTA Council meeting update.
Okay, so I am one of the PTA Council liaisons, and the PTA Council promised last month that they would come up with a unified and approved letter regarding the incident that happened, was it the 14th, where we had the lockdown and lockout. And they managed to get that together last night, but unfortunately they were not able to get anyone to come to the meeting to read it. So I'm here and I'm going to read the letter. Okay. I want to start out by saying that I am relieved that no one was physically harmed in Friday's incident at Woodlands. While I'm sure there was a lot to handle in addressing the matter, I want to share with you the feedback I received from Highview parents in my role as PTA president. So that's one of the members. Lack of communication. While we understand the exact details can't be disclosed to the community, parents felt that the first message was too vague and did not understand how the elementary schools were impacted. Having clarity on the difference between a lockdown and a lockout would have been helpful. In conversation with a parent, it was pointed out that the district calendar has a page of emergency protective actions and recommended parental responses. It would have been extremely helpful to have a link to this page included in the initial message. I hope it will be a consideration to include this information in future messages. Now, some of these things may have been taken care of since this letter was initially written, so you may want to respond at the end if you feel like it. Also, it was noted that there was no alert update on the district website during the whole time the situation took place. Time of communication. The district safety plan indicates that parents will be updated during an emergency. We only received 2 notifications, one at the beginning of the incident and one at the end. During the 2 hours in between, parents did not know what was going on. An update at some point during the 2 hours would have been appreciated, especially for the parents at the elementary school level. It is unacceptable that no communication was sent. If it was known that the elementary schools were not at risk, why not disclose that information? What protocols are in place for the frequency of communication during an emergency? So frequency. District protocols. In reviewing the district external communication protocols, the first level of contact for questions regarding security are the principals, then the security supervisor, then ASB, and finally the superintendent. It's important for parents to understand how these protocols relate to Friday. Does the nature of Friday's emergency override the communications protocols in the flow chart? And are there other protocols that get put in place? As parents, we need a clear understanding of what the protocols are. The media. What protocols are given to the staff when there's a situation at or about one of our schools? Is given to the staff on how to handle the media if they are approached by someone in the media. What role does the district's PR have in these types of incidences? Could there have been a follow-up interview with News 12 to correct all the incorrect information that was put out? Increased awareness. Friday's incident has highlighted many flaws in our current process, and they need to all be addressed. Given the nature of the world we live in, school safety is a sensitive topic for all parents. There needs to be an increase in awareness, understanding of security protocols. It shouldn't just be included in the district calendar, but spoken about throughout the year. Is there a plan to have a follow-up community forum to address the questions parents may have? Can we have an organized forum with both police and fire professionals, like the church forum from last year, and have building leaders and heads of security for each building in attendance? Specific to Woodlands High School, students left the high school. How can that be controlled moving forward? Yvette Swaby-Lipton, PTA Council President. So that's the letter. Does anyone wish to provide any response?
Warner.
Yeah.
That would be for Dr. Iverson.
If you send me the letter, I will respond to the PTA.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Warner, did you, I know you just sent it this evening. So
I
did you
sent
send
it to the board
you covered
distribution list so
Dr.
everyone would have it, and Dr. Iverson is on that list, but I didn't get it last night. I got it late this afternoon,
Okay.
so she probably hasn't had a chance to look at it.
Absolutely. Okay, so Dr. Iverson, you will have it. I can forward it just to you so you can get it directly. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Warner. Now we're going to move on. Yes, Trustee Pineda?
I just want to make an announcement. The Safety and Technology Committee will be meeting on Thursday, November 10th from 5:30 p.m., starting at 5:30 p.m. in the Woodlands Middle High School Innovation Lab. So just FYI. Thank you.
And I would also like to make an announcement. November 21st, the Education and Wellness Committee will be meeting. Location to be determined, and there will be a flyer. We will have phone blasts
text messaging, and we are calling all educators, retired, ones working, parents, community members, come out, come out, come out, and let's hear about our wonderful education in Greenburgh Central School District.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other announcements, updates for committees? No? Okay, we're going to move on in our agenda to the board president's report. You may have noticed that earlier this evening, we took a poll of the Board of Education, and our new district clerk went around and called our names, and our new district clerk is Christine DiFrancesco. Did I pronounce that accurately?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Christine comes to the district with prior district clerk experience. So say hello to everyone, Christine.
Hello, good evening, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And Ivy is still here. Ivy is, again, the superintendent's secretary. But last time we did switch clerks, people were wondering what happened to Ivy. So just to let everyone know, Ivy is still here. And next, I wanted to thank Trustees Vallon and Trustee Warner for going on the tour of the Metropolis walkthrough, as well as going to the individual schools' Halloween celebrations that they had. Trustee Vallon shared some pictures with us, and Trustee Warner went as well. So thank you both for taking the time to do that. And lastly, I wanted to remind everyone that the Board of Education is having our retreat, although it is going to be closed session information this Saturday from 9 to 2:30 p.m. Thank you. 9 a.m., excuse me, to 2:30 p.m. Next, we're going to move on to our superintendent report. Oh, Trustee Vallon. I'm sorry, Dr. Iverson. Trustee Vallon?
I just wanted to say that I also saw Trustee Pineda lurking in the background of some photos at Bailey, so he was there too.
Well, Trustee Pineda, thank you as well for going to the Halloween celebrations at our various schools. So next, we're going to move on to Dr. Iverson on our superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. I too just have a few announcements. I want to remind the public and the community that Tuesday, November 8th is our election day. I'm encouraging eligible voters to exercise your right to vote. Tuesday is also our last superintendent conference day, professional development, and want all parents in the community to know that all schools will be closed to students and all staff will engage in PD for that day. Schools will be holding parent-teacher conferences this week and next week. If you have any questions, parents, regarding conferences with your child's teacher, please do not hesitate to reach out to them or the building principal. On Friday, November the 11th, the district will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. And my last announcement is, last but not least, Monday, November 7th coming is Greenburgh Central School District Professionals Day, a time to recognize all of our maintenance staff who work so hard to keep our buildings safe and clean day in and out. They are here before our day begins and after our day ends. They are an essential group to any organization, and we appreciate them and could not do this work without them. So we will honor them on November 7th. Thank you, Trustee Mayors.
Thank you, Dr. Iverson. Next, we have our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Personnel report, Dr. Macaluso.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank all of the parents who came out on 10/27 last week for our first Parent U of the school year. We focused on the iReady parent reports. Those reports should be sent home shortly, and you also have an opportunity to discuss those parent reports at parent-teacher conferences, which are in process. As a friendly reminder, our next Parent U session is on November 17th. It is an in-person parent university at Lee F. Jackson in the cafeteria at 6 p.m., and we will be focusing on our early phonics program, foundations, and the target audience for that is our pre-K through 3 parents. Second piece I'd like to bring up to the community is 2 efforts that we are focusing on at the high school to have some additional recognition for our seniors as they graduate. The first one is the Seal of Biliteracy. This is a New York State Education Department initiative and requires certain criteria. Students who receive the designation of the Seal of Biliteracy have demonstrated a level of proficiency in 2 languages. So we are looking forward to implementing that this school year and recognizing our seniors who would achieve that accomplishment. The second one is the Seal of Civic Readiness, and this is another New York State Education Department initiative that recognizes students' ability to make a positive difference in the public lives of our communities through a combination of civic knowledge, skills, actions, mindset, and experiences. So we feel here in Greenberg we are uniquely posed to implement this for our seniors because of our IB program, and there's some nice similarities between that. So please look out for some additional information from Principal Smith on both of those items. The next piece is parents should have started to hear from Richard J. Bailey School regarding some after-school programming that we are starting there, and Highview and Lee F. Jackson and Woodlands Middle High School will soon follow. Look for those programs to be implemented toward the end of November. We are starting with those programs being academic services for our students who are identified for those programs. And that is it for the curriculum, instruction, and personnel updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Macaluso. Any questions, comments?
I
Trustee
have
Washington?
a question. In reference to the parent university, are we using our parent Title I allocation for that, like the parent universities?
Most of our cost for parent university comes from already funds that are allocated in our budget. So faculty, personnel, that's part of their contractual day. What we provide for our parent universities is refreshments, and we will be providing childcare, but that is not part of our Title I allocation.
So did we come up with what is our number for the parent Title I allocation for the district? Do we know how much is allocated for our parents?
I don't have that amount off the top of my head, but we are exempt from using any particular formula from New York State Education Department because of the amount of Title I dollars that we receive.
Right, but they usually, like I said, I think I said like 3 times already, they allocate a certain amount of Title I money for parents. So we need to find out what that is, and so we know what our parents can use in collaboration with the administration so that we can either enhance our own parent professional development around strategies, testing strategies, anxiety, because there's money set aside for parents, Title I money for parents to use with the district so that we can professionally develop ourselves as a parent group. Also, I just wanted to, you talked about the Halloween parades, but we didn't shout out Woodlands High School Middle School Band. Were they at the parades? So we should shout out our Mr. Kennedy and our students who performed at every school. So thank you to the band. And just to remember, this is Native American Heritage Month. So let us make sure that we celebrate all of our wonderful indigenous people that were here before us and are still here. And let's celebrate them as well. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Trustee Washington. So any other questions or concerns, inquiries? Dr. Macaluso, I'm happy to hear about the Seal of Biliteracy. I'm wondering, do you guys have a targeted number of children that would possibly, are there children you have in mind that would be achieving this seal? Is it expected, 5% of the graduating class, 10%? That would reach this level of biliteracy?
We do not yet have a projected number of students. The first level for both the Seal of Civic Readiness and Seal of Biliteracy is to create a building level team who will review the criteria for both. And so once we have both of those teams in place, we will have a better understanding of the potential number of students who would qualify for both designations.
Awesome, thank you. And is the goal for the graduating class of 2023 to be the first class to receive those seals?
That is our goal, correct.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the Assistant Superintendent for Business report. Ms. Raymond.
Thank you, Trustee Mears. As far as the Treasurer's report is concerned, we began the month of September with $19,454,023.88. We deposited $606,844.23, and expended $5,340,522.88. We ended the month of September with $14,720,345.23 in the general fund. I'm happy to report that we have completed our healthcare worker bonus and have uploaded it to the portal, and it was accepted today. So those who fell under that healthcare worker bonus will be receiving that $3,000 bonus shortly within in their payroll. The mansion roof project, the contractor continues to work on replacing the bricks outside of the mansion. The roof replacement has not yet begun yet. The circulator pump that went bad last week has been turned off, and Mr. Pugliese has ordered the parts so that they can begin to rebuild the unit. The contractor and our architects are still going over the specs for the vestibule and are awaiting the final approval from the architects. The contractor is also waiting for the materials to be scheduled for delivery. As far as Phase 1 is concerned, there are 2 contracts that are on the agenda for approval tonight. Once these final 2 contractors are approved, work can begin in the schools. The fencing at ECP, our contractor will be here this week to replace the fencing by the playground at ECP. That should be completed by the end of next week. At Woodlands Middle High School, Mr. Pugliese is working with Mr. Barrios and Big Sign Corporation to replace the flags throughout the Woodlands Middle High School campus. That will also include the IB logo now on the flag. Bus Patrol, as you know, that is the company that will be putting the cameras and the stop arms out on our buses. We'll be having a meeting with the Town of Greenburgh and the Town of Greenburgh Police to propose a law that will allow the use of stop arm cameras on all school buses. The Energy Performance Contract flyer has been done in draft, and I've sent it to the architects, to the FinFac chairperson, and the public relations for input so that we can get that done and on our website shortly. And as you know, Greenburgh Central School was not included in the initial round of distribution of air purifiers being distributed by the Westchester Department of Health. I am happy to say that this afternoon I was contacted. Mr. Pugliese and I have been continually on the phone with the director of the Department of Health, and she informed me today that Greenburgh will be receiving 228 air purifiers that will be placed throughout all of our school buildings. So along with the air purifiers that we have already purchased ourselves and these 228, nearly every classroom and office will be outfitted with an air purifier now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Are there any questions?
No, I just wanted to make a comment. Thank you, Trustee Jamal. Dr. Iverson, you did send an email about the parent Title I allocation. So it's $2,000. So you sent an email to us. I thank you. I appreciate it. You should have said something when you should have been like, I sent you an email. Thank you, Trustee Jamal.
No problem.
Thank you, Lisa Raymond.
I just have one comment.
Yes, Trustee Pineda?
So, Ms. Raymond, just to clarify, if I remember correctly, the healthcare worker bonus is not something paid out by the district. It's funding that comes from the state, correct?
Correct. It is funding that comes through the state, but it'll come to the district, and we will put it in their payroll.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Yes, Trustee Warner?
Thank you for getting on top of that air purifier issue. That's good.
Yes, that's good. That's great, yeah. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, we're going to move on. Next, we have public comments. Christine, do we have any public comments for this evening? Okay, great.
First up is going to be Sarah Lazar.
Okay, that's Sarah Lazari. And Ms. Lazari, I know you've spoken at our meetings before, so you know, but for the public, I will remind everyone, you have 4 minutes, and it is our policy that we don't usually reply. If there is any sort of reply, it will usually come from the superintendent, and or you may be emailed after the meeting to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Button right on the top.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
So I'm Sarah Lazari. I am the parent of a Highview student and an ECP student. So thank you for giving me a moment to speak tonight. I'm here actually to talk about a serious issue regarding the ECP program. I recently became aware that my 4-year-old child has spent quite a bit of time in the classroom with just one teacher in the room due to teacher absences. Now, my son's teachers are absolutely wonderful. I have no complaints, but it is unsafe to have one teacher in a classroom with these very small children. There was only one teacher present in my child's classroom when there was a recent lockdown drill at LFJ. And in the case of a real emergency, I shudder to think what could happen. Recently, I was able to volunteer in the classroom when I was at school for something else. I volunteered because there was only one teacher alone with 15 4-year-olds all day. During just the short time I was there, 2 children had to be brought to the nurse's office for different reasons. These 4-year-olds need a lot of assistance. I don't understand why we are putting our children and our teachers in this position. New York State Universal Pre-K regulations state that 2 teachers must be assigned to each class of up to 18 students. So why is Greenberg not following this regulation? When I expressed concern to the director of ECP, I was told that substitutes were very hard to come by all across the country and that the administration was trying. So thank you for trying, but that excuse is not good enough. I am here tonight to ask, how exactly are we trying to attract more substitutes? Are we offering higher pay? Are we incentivizing substitutes from other GCSD schools to also sub at ECP? Did we contact all of the ECP teachers who retired last year and said they wanted to substitute? Is there something we can do with LFJ noon aides who can fill in the gaps? There has to be more, and our youngest learners should not be the ones to suffer from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lazari. Dr. Iverson, do you have
Questions? I'll get back to you, Ms. Lazari, in print and email. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll copy you, trustee.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Dr. Iverson's going to get back to you, Ms. Lazari, and then also CC the board so that we're aware of the response. Thank you. Is there, oh, sorry, I lost my mic. Are there any other public speakers tonight?
There is one more, and I will probably butcher this name as well. Kate Magel?
Katie McGee.
Sorry.
Yes. Hi, Ms. McGee. You've spoken at our meetings before as well, so I do know that you know our procedure of 4 minutes, and we will not necessarily directly respond to you, but possibly the superintendent, and you will definitely get a response through email if you ask any specific questions that are due a response. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm looking for, could you just hold a second while I pull up something to help me with my statement? Sorry.
We'll start the clock when you start your statement.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Sorry, I lost my place. All right, I'm gonna have to wing it. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Katie McGee. I'm a parent of an 8th grader at Woodlands. I'm here to mostly talk about how we move forward after the lockdown on October 14th. I really feel strongly we need to team up and we need to work together, collaborate together to face, so we are prepared to face any next crisis in the best way possible. I'm not here to go over everything that I think went wrong and everything that could go better next time, but more to just say, like, you know, what I'm hearing out there, the parents, we've been talking, there's been comments on social media, there's been very limited information given to the parents, there's been more information given to the students at an assembly. Parents are upset that they didn't get that information too. So, I know there's concerns about liability. Maybe that's why we haven't had a meeting all together. I don't really understand. I think we could give it a try. We could get, stopped when we cross a line or something, but I really think a meeting where parents could air things out with the administration and staff would be helpful. Okay, so I know, for instance, I heard the superintendent saying things to the effect of, well, we all did meet and we believe us. We are going over everything. We are analyzing what we did well, what we could do better, but we can't tell you much. So that shows me you need us to trust you and have confidence in you. And I would like to know what you're going to be doing to do that, because I feel like there's a restoration that needs to happen. We went through a scary experience, a traumatizing experience. Some parents got the text they never want to get from their kids. I was more lucky. Mine sort of knew that things were okay, but in the moment. But I don't know, the kids, everybody needed that message that the district, the adults in the district are going to do the best they can to ensure that everyone is safe, and the kids need to feel safe again. And critiquing students for spreading word of a possible lethal weapon, critiquing it as a rumor, okay, that the kids created hysteria, is not the way to go. And I'm speaking about a slide that was shown at the assembly at the middle school. It's not your run-of-the-mill rumor like, oh, so-and-so stole somebody's money. No, this was about a lethal weapon. And it's quite reasonable to me that the kids warned each other, and it could be reframed as seen as a warning, and they did the right thing. Because until you know otherwise, you have to treat threats like they're real. And that's what we do. That's what we did with the bomb threat. That's what you would do if any staff member was accused of doing anything. You have to treat it like it's real till you know otherwise, and I think that's what our students did. So I'm just saying messaging should encourage the kids that they did good things that day, they did the right thing, and that they should report whenever they feel safe, no matter the source of the information, whether they know whether it's a rumor, whether it's real or not, they should report things if they feel unsafe. And I feel like your messaging could have gone a long way to do that, to be better at that. Also, I'm surprised you didn't have Mr. Giarrusso take the lead. He wasn't at the assemblies. I spoke to him. He was at meetings that day. He's the psychologist with the most background in this kind of stuff, and the social workers and the psychologists, I urge you to have them take the lead, because they have the most training in the crisis intervention. Thank you. My time's up.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Dr. Iverson, did you get all those points? Okay, great.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. McGee.
Okay, trustees, any comments or concerns before we move forward in our agenda? No? Okay. Next, we have on our agenda an anticipated adjournment to the executive session. Can I get a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters, and/or employee records, and matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel.
Second. It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. To the public, so we're going to go into exec session now. It's now 7:45 p.m. To the public, I anticipate we'll be there at least 2 hours. Thank you.
You're live.
Okay, great. Yes, time is now 1:13 a.m. and we're returning to our agenda. We just left executive session. I don't even know where we are on the agenda. Okay. Work session approvals. Can I get a motion for item E1, personnel instructional items, and we are tabling item number F4.
I move that we approve the instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening with the exception of F4.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. E2, personal non-instructional items.
I move that we approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item E3, board action items.
I move that we approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item E4, pupil personnel items.
I move that we approve the pupil personnel services items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're going to move ahead to items J on the agenda. Review agenda items for next meeting. Any questions regarding J1, J2, J3, J4, J5, J6, J7? I know there was a question about the start date for that one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Iverson will get back to us regarding that. Thank you. J8, J9, J10, J11, J12, J13, J14, J15, J16, J17, J18, J19, J20. Okay, let's move on to closing items. Closing items, number K1, new business.
I have something.
Yes, Trustee Pineda?
I'd like to request that we, I guess we'll take a poll of my request. If we can hire a safety and security consultant to analyze the events of October 14th and just do a follow-up and any additional things, measures we can use to strengthen our current policies, procedures, et cetera, when it comes to safety.
I hear a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was that, Trustee Pineda? Trustee Warner, thank you. It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Sure.
Sure.
I would say that we should widen the scope a little bit, that we should not only look at just this particular incident, but the consultant could look to see how we can improve safety and security in general. I would also suggest that once there are outcomes from this, there'll be some subset of those outcomes that we can actually share publicly. Not everything. Some things will have to be kept, behind the curtain. But those things that are open, I believe we could have a community forum to share the results of that when we're done, when the whole process is complete.
Agreed.
Anyone else have any feedback? So the only discussion I would have is that I actually want a true investigation specifically to look at the one incident. Of course, it would then be widened after that one incident was truly looked at, but we can go on. I wouldn't vote against this particular motion because I think that at least encompasses what I asked for. So Christine, can you please poll the board?
Sorry, Jamal Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Fallon,
Yes.
David Warner,
Yes.
Julie Along,
Yes.
Kiana Washington,
Yes.
Ashley Pineda,
Yes.
Tracy Mares.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. So we will be looking into hiring a safety and security consultant. It sounds like the scope is now widened beyond the 10/14/22 incident. And the goal is to improve the safety and security in general, and then possibly have a community forum afterward. Is that what you recommended?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is K2 adjournment. Can I get a motion?
Wait,
I'm sorry, Trustee Warner?
I just wanted to request that at a future meeting that we reactivate the policy review process for the district.
Reactivate the policy review process?
Traditionally, we would have a policy review agenda item. And so I'm asking that in future meetings, we start doing that again, because I think there's quite a backlog of policies we need to get updated.
So Trustee Valen, do you want to give input to that, please, as the chair of governmental, Louise.
I have nothing.
Governance and policy.
Governance.
It's late, sorry.
No, I have nothing to add at this time. It is something that we were looking forward to, and I know, no, I have nothing to add.
So I'm not against that. That's all I can say about that. So I'm not against
Great.
reinserting the policy review piece onto the agenda.
Yep.
President Mares, if I may, I will, as part of the remit for my position as chair of the Governance and Policy Committee, reach out to our district clerk and the superintendent secretary to see where we are in that. There was an estimated time frame given to us, so I want to see if it's ready to roll. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Valen. Okay, is there any other new business or old business that trustees want to discuss before we adjourn? Okay, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Meeting's over, 1:21 a.m. Thank you.